Thank you very much, Declan, and a very warm welcome to everyone here today. And to Des, thank you to you for being our partner here today at, I think, this very important lunch. It is such a pleasure to be back here in Belfast, and particularly, I have to say, for me to be at the Titanic Quarter. My great-grandfather was a White Star Line sea captain, and one of the things he did was to captain for a period the Britannic. And for me to see where it was built is quite a treat. I'll be taking photos to take back to my family later. Now, the Titanic may not be a metaphor that firms necessarily want most to be associated with, but I think what we can all agree on is that what has been achieved here on this site is a simply remarkable example of what can happen when local people work together to give new life to their history. And I'd like to begin my remarks this afternoon, if I may, by recognizing one local champion in the room today. And I have to say, he is one of those very annoying people who can do just about everything, from raising 8 children to running marathons, but most impressive of all is his work regenerating this great city, including 3 years as CEO of this Titanic Quarter. I'm talking, of course, about our CBI Northern Ireland chair, David Gavigan, whose 2-year term finishes at the end of this year. But I have to say, luckily for us, he remains a member of the CBI board. So David, can I just say, on behalf of everybody in this room, from CBI members across the country, thank you for everything you've done for the CBI Northern Ireland Council, and we wish you every success with the Aurora Fund. So now let me turn to the future and to the economy here in Northern Ireland at this absolutely vital time. Northern Ireland has come so far in recent years, moving from peace to stability to prosperity. Today you have one of the youngest populations in Europe, with over half of your people under 40 years old. And from cyber to the creative industries, agri-tech to aerospace, companies from the US, India, China, all over the world are choosing to make their home right here. Last year, the number of people in work here in Northern Ireland returned to pre-financial crisis levels. This is a real milestone. So my message today is this: let's not allow Brexit to throw all of this off course. Let's get Brexit right. For all parts of the UK, of course, but most certainly for here in Northern Ireland. And it is precisely because of how much has been achieved that there is so much at stake. And if I may, I'd like to just choose an example that's very close to my heart. I spent 14 wonderful years in the broadcasting industry, and I made many memorable trips to Belfast during that time when things were just getting going. And it is just wonderful, I have to say, for me, quite moving to see Northern Ireland's barnstorming success in the global market for television. And I know from personal experience, it's a really tough industry. Only the best succeed. Yet 2 months ago, nearly 17 million Americans watched the season finale of the Game of Thrones. I have to say I was one of the Brits doing the same thing. That's 9 times more than the population of Northern Ireland. And much of it was filmed just 500 meters away at Titanic Studios. And fast forward to today, and we're seeing a gold rush for the silver screen right here on our doorstep. Belfast Harbour Studios, just around the corner, is the latest addition to the Titanic Quarter's creative scene. Built on a former landfill site, the £20 million project is already producing the next Belfast blockbuster, a Superman prequel filmed over the summer. And it's not just the creative industry. So, you'll all probably have heard of retina scanners, fingerprint databases, and voice recognition. But there are only 2 companies in the entire world which can identify a person by their heartbeat. And one of them is right here in Belfast. Be Secure, who are working with the Centre for Secure Information Technologies less than a mile from here. And earlier this year, at the Northern Ireland annual dinner, Professor Sir John McCanney talked very movingly about his firm's 15-year journey from obscurity to global beacon of excellence. And it is because of heroes like Sir John and Norman Apsley that Belfast is now the #1 location in the world for cybersecurity investment. It's attracting companies from thousands of miles away, Rapid7 from New York, Alert Logic from Texas, Black Duck from Massachusetts, Anomaly from California. They've all got such fantastic names. Now, these firms have all chosen to set up shop in Belfast in the last 2 years. They've made that choice. They've attracted by the ease of hiring top cybersecurity graduates from Northern Ireland's great universities like Queen's and Ulster. And the success extends well beyond services. Mid-Ulster, for example, a hive of advanced manufacturing activity. Telestack near Omagh, making amazing machines that move materials from conveyors to ship loaders. And of course, aerospace. Firms like Mulligan in Dungannon, a global leader in airport equipment. And if you get on a plane tomorrow, there's a good chance your seat will have been made here. More than 30% of the world's airline seats are made by companies like Thomson Aero Seating in Portadown. Now, Northern Ireland needs to stay a world leader in aerospace. And I know that everyone in this room wishes Bombardier every success with its new partnership, its exciting new partnership with Airbus on the C-Series aircraft program. And I think reports of job losses today will be of a great concern to everyone. And what I want to say is that the business community and the CBI will be backing you and your workforce every step of the way in these next very important few months. So many remarkable things going on here. So many industries of the future whose journeys are just at their beginning. And in these new sectors and in many others, we need to make sure firms can keep investing, keep trading, and keep getting the best talent, just as they can today. And in short, that means getting Brexit right. At the CBI, we have not minced our words on this. So back in March, CBI President Paul Drexler, who never minces his words, warned of the Pandora's box of economic consequences which would come from no deal. And in July, I gave a lecture on Brexit at the London School of Economics, arguing that during a transition period, the UK should stay in the single market and in a customs union. At the time, it was pretty revolutionary. A few brickbats did fly. But last month, this is basically what the Prime Minister agreed to. And we will do all we can to hold the government to this and to build the will to achieve it across the European Union. And what it shows, and what it really does show, is that when business speaks up, it can make a real difference to the choices we make as a country. It can make a real difference to putting prosperity first. Now, this is a time for leadership in many walks of life. Yes, in business, and most certainly in politics. Yet, what we see right now in Stormont, in Westminster, and in Brussels is political deadlock. This needs to change, and it needs to change fast. On Brexit, the people of Northern Ireland need a voice. Politicians need to be back in Stormont, making sure the voice of business and prosperity is loudly heard. And those outstanding issues which have led to the collapse of the local executive need to be resolved by political representatives as soon as possible. Only you have that power. Because the impact of having no executive is being felt acutely across Northern Ireland's business community, very acutely. And all the more so because of Northern Ireland's unique situation within the UK. Now, for England, Scotland and Wales, the EU is a friend. It's a partner. But for you, the EU is your next-door neighbour. Northern Ireland shares a land border with the EU, and you will be the very first to feel the effects if we get this wrong. So, at the CBI, we've made sure to be here to listen to your concerns. And in June, it was my privilege to attend a border dinner, a hearing where I heard from firms whose supply chains span the entire island of Ireland. Since then, our CBI Northern Ireland team and IBEC have met the Irish Minister for European Affairs and top officials from the Northern Irish Executive, and our teams are working with IBEC on the economic impact of Brexit on the all-island economy. Do order your copy now. It will be a Brexit blockbuster, I promise you. And yet, whoever I speak to, in Northern Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland, in Westminster, in Brussels, everyone agrees. Peace and prosperity go hand in hand. No one wants to return to the past, and no one wants a hard border. With over £3 billion of goods and services exported from Northern Ireland to the Republic each year, the importance, the crucial importance of keeping an open, frictionless border between Ireland and Northern Ireland cannot be overstated, and I say it again here today. And it's also fundamental to that £13 billion worth of sales from Northern Ireland to the rest of the UK, that too is allowed to flow freely. That means no barriers and no delays. For the people of Northern Ireland, borders of any description, east, west, north, south, are simply not an option. Yet, right now, uncertainty remains. The details we have seen, especially proposals intended to avoid a hard border for goods, remain vague and need much more work. And crucially, many of the proposals require considerable flexibility from the EU and must be negotiated. The challenge, as ever, will be turning these intentions into action, and I assure you, we are on the case. But of course, when it comes to Brexit, it's not just about goods and services moving across the border. People must be the top priority. The researchers and the entrepreneurs, the shopkeepers and the delivery drivers, UK citizens in Europe, but also EU citizens in the UK, such as the 98,000 EU nationals here in Northern Ireland. So, 1 week after the referendum, on the 30th of June last year, I remember it well, the CBI called for a guarantee for EU citizens working in the UK. Yet, over the past 500 days and counting, their situation has moved from regrettable to disgraceful to downright intolerable. How can the United Kingdom claim to be an open, caring country while also gambling these people's futures at the negotiating table? Now, recently we have seen some progress. Last week, the Prime Minister claimed that a deal on citizens' rights was in touching distance. These are great words. We really welcome them. But now let's get that over the line. It is so important here that companies across the UK can continue to hire people from across Europe. And here in Northern Ireland, the Food and Drink Association say that nearly half of their members' full-time employees and more than 9 in every 10 of their seasonal contract agricultural workers are EU nationals. Now, these are absolutely staggering numbers. And for many firms, the time of wait and see is running out. They can't wait until midnight on the 28th of March 2019 to decide whether to stay or whether to relocate. Most will have to make a decision next year, many of them early next year. So let's make it easy for them and remove any shred of doubt that they'll have access to the EU workers they need for the years to come. So let me now finish so you can enjoy your lunch and wonderful company, and so we can hear from Martin. Northern Ireland has come so far in recent years. Now is not the time for lost momentum. It's a time for building on the progress made since the Good Friday Agreement that has brought peace, prosperity, and opportunity. It's a time for making the most of Northern Ireland's natural strengths, its young people, and its great quality of life, #1 destination in Lonely Planet. It's a time for embracing the whole host of future industries who are making Northern Ireland their home. But seizing these opportunities means overcoming obstacles. Some are close to home, like addressing challenges in infrastructure and education. That's a whole other speech and vitally important. But for now, navigating a successful Brexit here in Northern Ireland must come first. That means no hard border, no delays for trade, no new barriers to EU talent. Openness has fueled the economy here and prosperity in Northern Ireland in these recent years of rejuvenation. So may I close by saying, shouting it from the rafters of this great building, long may that continue. Thank you very much indeed.